Okay, mic check. Testing. Here we go. What's up? People are coming in. We're just gonna hang out. It's a little early. Still getting set up. Make sure I can see who's here. Very cool. Hello, everybody. People are coming in. It's just now hit 9 o'clock, so we're gonna wait a few minutes. I'm gonna get some stuff queued up here. Here we go.
Tom, where do you live?
I live in have you ever heard of Morro Bay, California?
I live in Walnut Creek, California.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm on the Central Coast here. San Luis Obispo County.
Oh,
Say
nice.
hello to Dawn's Restaurant for me.
Oh wow! Somebody just you say Dorns?
Yep.
Man, that's so crazy. I used to work at a place right very close to Dorns, bussing tables on the waterfront when I was a teenager.
Where do you live, Vinny?
Pasadena, California.
Oh, a lot of West Coast here.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're
Beautiful Walnut Creek. I know it quite well. Spent a lot of time there.
awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I normally feel like I'm
It,
the only California guy here. Just testing all my cameras real quick.
uh
But that's cool. We're up in the West Coast. Well, that's awesome too, because I think we got some. We're this today's going to be a West Coast heavy kind of day, because I got my old teacher Nick Mancini coming in, and
Nicholas.
he's gonna talk about his mallet technique, which is a little bit different. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his playing. He's got kind of a his unique approach to floor mallets and to Stevens grip, and it's his own sort of thing. So I had to make a video actually, and we can watch that, and then he's hopefully gonna be here to talk about it as well. But like I said, we're just getting started, just waiting for people to warm up. So I kind of liked where we were going with this. I was trying to suss out. We're not always taking the time to see like, hey, where are we all checking in from? So we got Pasadena, San Luis Obispo, Walnut Creek. Uh, Neil and Barry, where are you guys checking in from? Just remind us again.
I'm from Philly area.
Right.
I have something I'd like to demonstrate. If you could fit me in,
I think so.
is Tony not coming today?
No, I'm hosting Tony at a gig today,
Uh,
and
okay.
I think so far, like I was just mentioning earlier, I got my teacher Nick. He's gonna be here doing a video, and then Nora reached out about playing, and now Barry's saying that he's got something. So it looks like we already got a schedule going here. This is great. I didn't even have to do anything.
Mhm.
Uh,
Nick was my teacher as well
oh,
before he moved out to Oklahoma.
okay, exactly. So you said you're in the Pasadena area. That makes sense. I was living in Glendale when I was studying with him as well. So you were. I wonder. We must have. Our paths
We
must
must have been passing ships in the night going to that.
have.
That was a tiny apartment.
His little two-bedroom apartment in Glendale. Now you
Yeah.
got a big, beautiful home in Oklahoma. Fancy
Yeah.
that.
Of course, it is in Oklahoma.
Well, that's where his wife's whole family is.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great.
Afton is very sweet.
It's yeah, Afton's great, and it's really good to be with family during a time like this. Um, so who is just some technical things? Who is here? Dave Brashears. Your camera's on, but there's nothing on the camera, so we just got this gray spot on the screen. Not that it really.
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. I've got my camera turned off on I've got it taped off.
Oh, you got it
I,
taped. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm gonna
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead and, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead
I
and.
am I am in Oklahoma, and I've known Nick for I don't know a couple of years. He used to come out and sit in with a bunch of the players in town, and I'm a vibes player as well, mostly a drum set player. And I've taken a few lessons with Nick. Just getting started. It's nice to have him out here.
Oh, Dave, that's awesome. That's so cool. Well, that's awesome. Very cool. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just stop your video, and that way we're seeing just people who have their cameras on, but we can still hear everybody. We're still talking to everybody. We're all here. We're still connected. Hey, Brett. Hey, Mike. Hey, Nora. We're all coming in here.
What up?
This is going well. This is going to be a really fun time. Just reiterating what some people have been saying. We got Nick Mancini coming in today. I got a video for him that's going to him talking about his technique, and he's going to answer any questions. Nora reached out to me about playing, and Barry says that he has something he wants to show us. And then is Carolyn here? She's hiding. Is there any material that we're supposed to enjoy this week from Vibes Workshop?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, very cool. Well, you're gonna have to do that whole situation because oh, Hauka's back.
Olga, whoa.
Hey ho.
Hey.
Nice to see y'all. How you doing?
We're doing really well. This is gonna
Good,
be
man.
cool. This is gonna be a great hang.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt what we were talking about.
Oh no, we're good. I was just kind of going over the game plan so far. It's really cool. A bunch of people are taking the initiative and are doing some cool stuff. I think we're gonna have some performances, and one of my old teachers is coming and talking about his technique, and we got a video to show. And but I was thinking, seems like there's a good amount of people here. We're getting the ball rolling. Why don't we go ahead and get into that weekly lesson material from Vibes Workshop? I think I've got the screen sharing enabled, so I'm just gonna pass that over to you, Carolyn, because as you recall, I can't actually share material from Vibes Workshop. It's a little awkward. And is Nick here yet? No, I don't see him. All right, I'm gonna text him.
I just have sent him a text.
Oh, great. Well, then I'm not even gonna worry about it. His fans are already here. This is gonna be such a
I said, "We're all here. Where be you?"
awesome. Well, very. Yeah. So let's do the thing.
Yeah, so our lesson of the week isn't quite a lesson, but since Nick was going to be here, I pulled up an old video from, when is this from? 2010. That's on Vibes Workshop of him playing at Apollo Amateur Night. So I was hoping he was already going to be here so that he could tell us about what it's like to play at the Apollo and do amateur night.
Do you want to hold off on that and wait till he comes? Because I could demonstrate something that doesn't need Nick here.
Okay. Yeah, we could. Sure, absolutely.
Kind of cool that you found some Nick Mancini deep cuts there, Carolyn.
Yeah, I go deep.
Yeah, and that in the same interest, maybe giving Nick a chance to show up, we'll switch to Barry. What were you hoping to demonstrate, Barry?
So about 5 years ago, I modified my vibes. I made the hardware and wrote the software, and I kind of took it apart. Hadn't played with it in a long time, but then I saw Mike Manieri play his MIDI vibes on some videos, and I said, let's dig it up. The main reason I did it was because I wanted to be able to transcribe my performances. If I wrote an etude or something I was working on, instead of putting it on, the piano keyboard, to put it in with the vibraphone. It's basically a proof of concept. It's definitely not a commercial unit, but I just wanted to demonstrate what I have so far. What I did was, is anybody familiar with Arduino? It's a little microprocessor. It's made for people that even artists do, like stuff with it, light up with sensors. You hit a sensor and something lights or something like that. So it's very easy to use, this microprocessor. So what I did was basically got piezo transducers, the little discs, made a little circuit to get the envelope of the sound, and then I fed it into the Arduino, which samples the envelope to determine whether the note was on or off. And so it was just like a fun project I did. And this morning I just put it all together. I put the discs on with like little sticky tape, the like poster sticky stuff. And so I just like to do a little quick demonstration, and I would like to get some feedback on using MIDI vibes, and what your thoughts are on using them. It would have been nice to also have Tony chime in, because he's actually in the past used the K&K MIDI system. But here it goes. I have to flip over my mic.
You can take something like a K&K system and route that and make it use it for MIDI.
Right.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, to take the K&K system, I would need to actually put it into my circuit to get that to work. But yeah.
Awesome, Barry. Let's hear it.
So, whoop.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm running through a main stage on my Mac. So the way I get the sustain is actually a real sustain pedal that's on my. I gotta flip this down. So you see the bar across here. The Deegan has the sustain all the way through, and I don't know if you can see the pedal down there, right under my arm.
Yeah.
Right there, see it?
Right.
Yeah.
So the pedal, my vibe pedal, is pressing the pedal.
You have the piano. You have the sustain pedal way underneath
Yeah,
the vibraphone pedal. It's a one-push system.
Yeah. So you can see it's a rat nest of wires. It's definitely not commercial. I used Ethernet wires to the piezo. So each Ethernet wire has 4 transducers connected to it. Then I go through like a Cat6 box to plug in my Ethernet wires, and then that goes into my Arduino setup.
You're like a crazy genius.
It's fun project. Yeah. And notice that it's polyphonic.
Yeah.
Some systems. I know Steve Shapiro's done this sort of stuff, but I think he goes. I forget what the system he goes, but I think it's monophonic. And it's not MIDI. It takes the audio and then converts that into MIDI. This is using the transducer, so each note is detected. Let me pull a string setup.
Barry, you are blowing all of our minds right now collectively.
That's fun. Okay, cool.
Drop.
I only have the naturals wired right now. These aren't hooked up.
Play some sick modal jams. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow, Barry, this is amazing. So can you now that we've all seen it, can you kind of reiterate what you were saying at the beginning, just explaining like the concept of the pickup system?
Yeah. Let me dig one up.
Yeah, that's super cool. The fact that you could just like do that simultaneous triggering with MIDI notes on the phone and not be using a mallet cat or a mallet station.
Right. And what's cool is I own the software. I could do whatever I want with it. If anybody wants to do this, I'll give away the software and work with anybody that wants to do this. But that's the cool thing. I can make it do whatever I want. and again, the Arduino software, it comes with all these MIDI libraries, and it just made it so simple to do. I mean, like 10 years ago, it would have been really hard to do.
Well, the real laborious part is, I mean, obviously just the hardware element.
Exactly. The wire, it was 50 lines of code, which is tiny. It took hours and hours to do all the piezo discs. So I bought these eighth inch. Oh, let me put my mic back on. So I bought a bunch of these 1/8 inch jacks, 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch, and cut them in half, and then I soldered on the piezo discs.
Ah.
Wow, very cool.
And I use this they call it ticky tack. This is not the way to do it permanently. You would use super glue to put them on, but I didn't want a permanent setup, so it's like this gummy ticky tack for posters, and it works. It is velocity sensitive too, so the harder you hit, the louder it is.
Now, where were you mentioning the cat? You said you were using Cat 4 cabling or Cat 6 cabling, or?
Yeah, exactly. So what I did was, I bought a bunch of these cables and I split them in half, and then I wired up 1/8 inch jacks.
Oh, Barry. Oh my gosh.
It took a long time.
That's crazy, man.
But so each one of these Cat 6 is for triggers.
So then you have maybe total like half a dozen of these Cat 6 receptors going into that
Yeah.
hub.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh man.
Let me see if I can dig that up. It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, I can see just the massive
Can you see this? Yeah.
That's the bay right there.
And then this is the actual can't see too well.
Yeah, I understand. I think we can see what's going on. It's okay. Barry, that's incredible, man.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So cool,
Wow.
fun little project. So any other questions before I bring up a question?
Oh, Barry even has his own question. But does anybody else have a question for Barry?
Do you think you might be able to put together a parts list sometime?
Sure. You're gonna help me, Becky?
Yeah.
You do Python, I know.
Yeah, I do
But
Python
this
and
is-
JavaScript.
Yeah,
Not Arduino yet, but
Arduino is C based, so it's pretty similar. It's very easy.
I heard it's really easy. I just never got around to it because I didn't think I had a project to use it for yet.
Okay. Give me your email address, and
Okay.
and I'll send it to you.
And Barry, you said you had a question?
Yeah. Basically, would anybody use something like this, like say live? I know Tony stopped because it was either hard to use or hard to set up. I think he would like it. It automatically picks up the audio and converts it to MIDI. That's difficult. But yeah, so I'm just curious if anybody else is using MIDI vibes, how they're using it. So that's it, opening the floor up to that.
Well, I think that's super fascinating.
Do you
Hey
think
Barry,
somebody
Hi,
program?
Nick.
how you doing, man?
Did you catch it? Did you catch a demo? I know you came in a little late.
I did catch the demo, but I think I'm talking over somebody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nothing.
Was that Becky
That's
that
okay.
was trying to?
I can ask my question later.
No, it's okay. Go for it. It's all good.
I can't hear you. Okay.
I was going to ask if anybody thought it would make sense to have the MIDI data trigger an arpeggiator.
Hmm.
Do you think that would be cool, or would it get too weird? I guess
Weird is
you
good
might.
though, isn't it? Isn't weird good? I mean, we play the vibraphone, so it's already weird.
No, I guess what I mean is like as you start playing, you end up triggering too many arpeggiators at the same time, and then they all just mush together, and you're not getting the sound that you wanted.
I would imagine if you're holding down the pedal, that would be the case. So the reason why I wanted to chime in is because I actually had the K&K MIDI Wizard, and I loved it. I don't know, I just kind of phased out of it, but I used it for about 10 years. And I did use some arpeggiators, but I just kept the pedal up. And there are some arpeggiator patches that will immediately start to re-trigger a new set of arpeggios as soon as you replay new notes. So the old arpeggio won't keep rolling while you're playing the new one. And that's just something you can even mess around with like a little 25 key MIDI trigger keyboard made by Akai, and just kind of that's how I find the MIDI patches that I want to use for like the mallet station and whatnot. Is I just kind of sit with my computer or my headphones and I pull out my little 25 key keyboard and I cycle through a lot of different sounds, and that's how I kind of audition my sounds. But yeah, the arpeggiator thing, some of them just keep the old arpeggios keep going while the new ones stack on top, and it's kind of almost like if anybody remembers the line 6, the green line 6 delay pedal, that had a similar sort of function, but it would only last for a certain amount of time, and then slowly over time the old arpeggios would decay. Some of the MIDI patches model that, but then there are some that are almost like monophonic, where as soon as you play a new set of notes, it sets up a new set of arpeggios. So I would say experiment with that. Is that Becky asking about the arpeggiator?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say experiment with that, and then see what happens with the pedal up and the pedal down. You know, it's all experimentation when it comes to the triggers and stuff like that.
On the K&K, did they set, like, if you had the pedal up, was there a certain note on time that they specified, or
I'm not sure I understand the question fully.
So if you don't have the pedal down and you hit the vibes, does it play as long as the note rings, or is it just a trigger?
It was just a trigger, but they had an interesting thing. They had two different pedaling options. So you could set it up so that there was like a sort of a little box with a spring-loaded button on the top of it that fit underneath the arm on the damper bar. So whenever you press the actual physical pedal of the instrument down, the arm of the damper bar would press that spring-loaded button down, and that's how it would re-trigger. But then it also had a little a mini plug that you could plug a re-triggering pedal into. So you could just leave the pedal up on the vibes completely and use it almost like a keyboard. So they had a couple, that was their workaround, I think. But I think, yeah, it would only last as long, because they used piezo pickups, so it would only last as long as the bar vibrated, basically.
Okay, so it was ringing out as long as the bar was vibrating, not necessarily how long the pedal was down. Their electronic pedal.
Oh, so I think if I remember correctly, you would have to select that you were going to be using the electronic pedal, and then it would receive all its information from the electronic pedal.
Gotcha.
If I remember correctly, but it's been, I don't even know. I think I pretty much stopped using that rig like right around 2005, 2006. And as a matter of fact, I still have it if anybody's interested. I don't mean to take away from your thing, Barry, because I know you've got your own situation going on there. But if anybody's looking for a K&K MIDI Wizard, I got one. You'd have to buy the pickups. I think what it was that I had too many damaged pickups, and they were $15 a piece plus shipping. And at this point in time, to outfit your entire instrument with pickups through K&K, I think it costs like plus shipping like $600 or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Make note, I am not selling this. I'm giving it away.
Oh,
Whatever.
cool.
the
Nice.
plans, anything. I'm not in the business for this.
Well, Barry, this is definitely the platform for it. I think everyone is super stoked on your creation, and definitely keep us updated, and there'll definitely be a lot more room to talk about it.
Cool.
But I wanted to maybe move on and give Nick some time to do what he's gonna do. Maybe we can start with that video that Caroline was gonna share from Vibe's workshop. Caroline, can you set that up again?
Yeah, sure. So Nick, now that you're here, you are the feature of this video. And it's interesting Lolly Allen is here because I almost chose a video that was you two playing a duet from 2012. But then
that was a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, maybe if we have time we can watch both, but my shows is from Nick. You played the Apollo, you played Amateur Night back in 2010, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that. So I'll get it up, but I'll also just put the link here if anyone wants to find it on Vibes Workshop. And let me just share my screen. Oh, Tom, you have disabled screen
I thought I did the thing. Oh. Okay, there we go.
Okay, cool. Share sound. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, let's do it.
This is on Vibes Workshop. Wow. I was killing it, man.
Oh, now I feel old.
What tune is that?
That's a tune that I wrote called Stop Ahead.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
Mike Benedict here. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. How you
Is
doing?
that the Vibes that I sold you?
I think so. Was it a silver bar?
Yeah, Silver Muscle Pro.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, I always wanted those back,
You'd have to talk to one of my students in Los Angeles who bought it from me.
Okay.
That was a great axe, man. That was a great instrument.
Sounded great.
Thanks, man.
Nick, I'm really curious, like how, I mean, I think everyone knows about, if you don't know the Apollo Theater, it's like a big place in New York City that a lot of people play at, and Amateur Hour is kind of a cool place where people sometimes get started. So I'm curious, like, how did you get into Amateur Night, and like, what was that like and all that?
Sure. It was a lot of, first of all, it was a lot of fun. The staff at the Apollo, they have to be some of the nicest, most supportive people I'd ever met in show business and in my entire time in show business. There are two amateur events that happen at the Apollo. One is the televised amateur night at the Apollo, which came on. I think it was on what channel hosts Saturday Night Live? I think.
Oh, it's NBC. You could see the little watermark on the screen.
Right. Okay. So NBC. So it was on NBC on Saturday nights, right after Saturday Night Live. And so okay, so that's the televised Showtime. It's called Showtime at the Apollo. Now every Wednesday night at the Apollo Theater, they have a non-televised event, which is called Amateur Night at the Apollo. And that is like the age-old amateur night performance series that they've had at the Apollo ever since Billie Holiday was coming up. I mean, she sang at Amateur Night at the Apollo. So,
So did Ella.
So did Ella Fitzgerald. Yeah, Ella. I mean, everybody went through there. Buddy Holly, everybody. So I found out about. I mean, I was kind of getting my start in New York, and I found out about Amateur Night at the Apollo. I was living right around the corner from there, and so me and a bass player friend of mine and a drummer friend of mine lined up on the street for the cattle call auditions for the Wednesday night amateur hour, and stood in line for 2.5 hours waiting to audition. When we got in there, we had 2.5 minutes to set up a trio, play a tune, break down, and leave. So we got in there, we set up, we played a tune, and they booked us for a slot. So there are 4 potential rounds that you can go through on Wednesday night amateur hour. I made it to the 3rd round. I think I was 3rd place on the 3rd round. And so that earned me the invite to do Showtime at the Apollo, which is the televised thing that happens on Saturday nights. The whole trajectory from standing on the street for the cattle call audition to that performance that you just saw was probably about 2.5 years, something like that. It was a blast. So Amateur Night is really amazing. The energy there is incredible. Yeah, it's just, you go out on stage, you rub the stump. There's a stump that's there that everybody who's ever gone on that stage you rub your hand on it, and it's supposed to, I mean, they say it's a good luck stump, but in reality, what it does is, I think for people who are not accustomed to being on stage, it gives them a second to kind of like, the surface of that stump is like polished almost from so many people touching it over the years. And it's supposed to kind of give you just a moment to sort of like catch your breath and get your head in the game, and then you get out on stage. Now for the 3rd round, the funniest thing that happened to me was for the 3rd round, it was a different stage crew, and they set up the vibes backwards on the stage. So I went out for my 3rd round spot. This is on the Wednesday night thing, and the vibes were turned backwards, and I had to pull the mics away from it, undo the locks, spin the instrument around, replug it in, pull down the locks, and pull the mics back in and count the band off. And by that point in time, like 35 seconds had gone by, and you get a 2.5 minute slot. 35 seconds had gone by, and the audience was like, they are ruthless. They were booing and they were yelling. And there's a guy off to the side who's a tap dancer with a push broom. And he started like kind of coming toward me with the push broom. And I was like, no. And I counted off the band, and we went into it. And it was cool, but that was the last round. I didn't make it to the 4th round, but I got to do that Showtime thing, which is a really great experience. And that video has gone around a lot. So that's an original tune of mine called Stop Ahead. It's a 12-bar blues, but the head is 13 bars, and there's a 2-measure drum fill on bars 4 and 5. And the drummer was like, huh? You had 2-measure, why, so there was always this little sort of awkwardness in that thing. But, you just have like a 5-minute run through with the band, and then that's it until Showtime. So it's cool. It was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. I was never expecting to be asked to do the Showtime element of it. I just wanted to do that Wednesday night thing. If that's probably a lot to say about that one little thing. but I can talk. We know that.
I thought that was really cool. Some people were curious about the arrangement that the band was playing.
Yeah, that's actually the arrangement of the tune. It's like a stop on the downbeat, like
Like a full band?
Yeah, it's a huge band. It's like a 19-piece band because they,
Did you write parts?
No, it was just a lead sheet, but I think it was just the rhythm section. Really, it was just the keys and bass and drums that played for my thing. But they've got a full band because people go out there and do like Whitney Houston tunes, and so that band knows so many songs. It's unbelievable. I mean, they're the rock stars as far as I'm concerned.
That's very cool. Well, yeah. Unless there's any
Kurt Bloomberg, I was using Steven's script. That's actually a really good segue, Tommy. What do you think about that?
To what?
From what just happened into the next.
Yeah, that's where I was going before you cut me off.
Kurt, I use Steven's script.
Yeah, so what I wanted to show is I have a video of Nick talking about his grip, going into some techniques and some exercises that he uses. So because he has all of his gear now at a studio in Tulsa. So he went to a studio, he made a cool video, and I want to show that for everybody here. Let me get that queued up. Here it is. All right.
I'm here to talk to you about my approach to Steven's grip on the vibes. The first grip that I learned was scissor grip. This is just your standard scissor grip. And that's what I learned. And it's incredibly, to me, it's a very stiff feeling grip. I mean, in terms of if I want to get the sound that I'm looking for. In my third year of my undergrad, I started to learn the Steven's grip. And I did that mostly to facilitate my ability to be able to play modern marimba literature. But I was totally gonna go down the road of jazz. By this point in time, I knew that for sure. So I was playing a lot of vibes, and I was playing a lot of vibes in a lot of situations with, that were loud, basically. And I noticed that I couldn't generate the sound that I wanted from the instrument using Steven's grip. What I did with the Steven's grip, at least when I was playing vibes, was I choked up on it. I was able to play in a way that I felt as though I was holding two mallets. Because when I'm holding two mallets, it's a much more loose liquid. It's like the most liquid stroke I can get. I'm able to use a little bit of Muller technique there. But I want to be able to feel that while playing four mallets. So I also realized that in order to not grip the mallet so tightly, which is what is going to allow me to get the sound and the feel that I want, I need to balance out the rotation of the inside mallet with the use of the outside mallet. Because what I found I was doing was, while playing two mallets, I was pistoning my arms. And in pistoning my arms, the outside mallets were moving at the same time as the inside mallets. And I had to really, especially in fast, loud passages, I had to use a lot of energy to keep this mallet from hitting out here, you know, because I was pistoning. So I realized the rotation is going to be where it's at. I try to keep my mallets at almost a 90-degree angle. This is when I'm playing inside mallet stuff, okay? Just the 2 inside mallets. The reason for that is it allows this mallet to be, it allows this mallet to be on the same axis as my arm. So when I'm rotating, I'm only rotating the inside mallet, and the outside mallet stays as still as possible. Okay, saw Dave Samuels' video once where he put a book over here, and he let this mallet rest on that, and he just went up to 90 and down to the bar. Let's talk about that stroke. That moment that the mallet hits the bar, it needs to come off of the bar, but then it should come to rest about here. This is the beginning point of the stroke. Now, I'm trying to keep it loose. I mean, I'm playing jazz after all, so I want to have a certain kind of looseness to my phrasing. So now you've got control over all of them. So here's a couple of exercises to gain control and independence between the mallets through the use of accents. Okay? Don't overwork the stroke. Make those unaccented tones nice and quiet.
And
you're just practicing dropping from the starting point to the bar and then back. Real quick review. When you're playing the inside mallets, like a windshield wiper, okay? Practice going from the starting point, which is about an inch above the bar. That's your inhale. Okay, and then try to relax it. Not a piston motion. In front of you. You do not want to see these 2 outside mallets mimicking the motion of the inside mallets. They should be opposite of the inside mallet. That's how they properly balance it. All right, so go grab your Stevens grip. I like to start by putting the mallets like this on the instrument. Grab these 2, grab these 2. Okay? Of course, now, let's see if I still got it. Thank you.
Very cool video. And already lots of questions from people. So I'm gonna go ahead and just try to field some of the ones that were in the chat. I'm just gonna go ahead and address this big one from Keegan here. Keegan, you're here. Why don't you just ask your question?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't want to interrupt or change the conversation.
There, so we remember. But what's
Yep.
what we're talking about with the intervals and the mallet distance and what's going on there?
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
um, so Keegan asked why I keep such a, or he remarked that I keep a really large interval between the mallets. And I guess you were informed that you should keep something more like a fourth or a fifth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason for that is in order to like properly facilitate rotation wherein this mallet doesn't move, it kind of needs to be almost at a 90-degree angle so that this mallet can come straight off of the axis of your arm. And then this mallet can make that rotation motion, right? If the mallets are too close together, then I'm having to either see when I go to rotate this inside mallet, this outside mallet moves a lot more. It almost begins to mimic the movement of the inside mallet. And so what ends up happening there is you're swinging around the weight of two mallets as opposed to one. For me, that seemed to hamper my speed, and it seemed to hamper my ability to remain relaxed because I was holding on so tightly because I was trying to control the movement of two mallets in each hand as opposed to the movement of one mallet in each hand, right? So this way, I'm actually able to, like, if you can see more carefully, there's wiggle room here. Like this mallet, how do I show this? It's so weird. This mallet can move like an inch already without even affecting the movement of this because I'm not gripping it so tightly, right? So what I found and I see this in students when their mallets are too close together, they end up with a stroke that moves away from their body as opposed to in front of their body. And I just feel like that's a little bit inefficient.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Okay. So that's the reason for the wide interval. Yeah.
Cool. And then just like a small side question. Do you think because I heard that you also studied marimba literature, do you think that's also movable to like marimba style playing like or literature and stuff like that?
My experience with playing marimba literature is that you're adjusting the intervals between the mallets so often because you're going from, sometimes you're doing like rotation stuff that's like a second,
exactly, yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're doing parallel octaves and stuff like that. So the thing about that is with the marimba Stevens grip, you really hold the mallet way near the end like this, right? But the mallets are different too. It's like the birch handles and the lighter heads that helps facilitate that grip a little bit more. And also, as I was explaining in the beginning, the reason for me holding it like the way that I am is so that I could generate a little bit more power and get more volume from the instrument to combat the sounds that you deal with when you're playing in a jazz situation, like a drum set and amplified guitar. A lot of times you're playing in a bar, so there's a lot of background noise, right? So with marimba, I didn't find that to be an issue because you've got these two beautiful microphones and you're in an auditorium and everybody's sitting quietly and politely and listening to you play. Yeah. It's beautifully acoustically sensitive place, right? So you can use a more finite grip, and like I said, you're adjusting the distance between the mallets constantly with that kind of music. But with jazz, in order to facilitate a grip that allowed me to get volume but still remain relaxed, I chose to choke up on it and go with this kind of 90-degree angle thing so that I could get more of this and less of that. I saw videos where it was actually in that Apollo video. That was 11 years ago. So that there's still a lot of outside mallet movement when I'm playing the two interior mallets. There's more there than there is now. I mean, thankfully, I've gotten a little bit better over the past 11 years. But like when I saw that first video, I was like, oh, that video actually kind of woke me up to the fact that that my outside mallet was moving a lot. We had a big watch. We had a watch party that night that aired. And everybody's like, yeah, that was great, man. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but I got to fix that outside mallet business.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, that was a great answer. I'm going to field some more questions your way.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sure. You got it, man.
Kurt Bloomberg is wondering, do you find it easier to play double octaves with Stevens grip? And Kurt, is that referring to playing like octaves in both hands? I think that's what you mean by double octaves.
Yes, sort of like the pianist Phineas Newborn when he played double octaves.
Yeah. I don't find that really creeping into my playing that often. I think so. I don't even do that in my playing in general. So I can't even really comment on whether or not it's easier or harder. I know that it was easier to reach the octave in the lower register of marimba, and there's a lot of octave movement in classical marimba literature. And so, with the wider bars down near the bottom, I felt like the Stevens grip was better. And then with choking up on the mallets, I do find that it's easier to lock certain intervals in, but that's also not even necessarily a good idea because the instrument is graduated. So the size of an octave up in the top part of the instrument as opposed to in the middle and the lower, that changes anyway. But yeah, I think really, like, I do know that I hear a lot of players doing those octaves in one hand, and it's just not something I've really explored much in my own playing. But maybe I might start checking that out. Actually, I love the sound. I just never think to do it. I do it when I'm playing piano, but I don't do it on vibes.
One last question. With that grip, can you show a close up of? Are you crossing the sticks or are you?
Sure, I'll show you. The sticks do not cross. So this one gets held here. So this wacky like finger configuration is actually hugely important. So you see it forms kind of a 90-degree angle between the angle that the pinky is at and the angle that this finger is at is almost 90 degrees off axis, right? And so that's so that this mallet can be held in the same axis as my arm. And then this mallet, I actually anchor it in the palm of my hand, which is kind of that's like in the marimba world, that's a Stevens no-no, because it does to a certain degree hamper the movement of the mallets. And I let the third finger, when I'm locked into this position in playing the inner mallets, I let this third finger cover the butt end of the mallet. So this hand looks like this. Can you see that okay? And then this mallet comes in here. So it looks kind of like that. And one of the things that I tell my students when I'm teaching them this technique is when you're doing it properly, if when you look down at your hand, you see the top of your thumb and you see the side of your hand. If you look down at your hand and you see the top of your hand, then you're not going to be able to get the rotation that you're looking for. Because first of all, when you do this, you notice that the axis of the mallet is not the same as the axis of your arm. So when you turn your arm for rotation, this outside mallet moves. And also, when you're looking at the top of your hand, you're already past where you would be at the point where the mallet strikes. See, when the mallet strikes the bar, my thumb is pointing up at the sky. So there are a lot of car analogies. I tell people it's like holding onto a steering wheel, as opposed to like this. So scissor grip, Burton grip, stuff like that, you can see the top of your hand. That's how you know you're doing those grips properly. But if you're doing this Stevens grip properly, you really should be looking at the top of your hand here so that you can go from here to there. And then that way you've got that 90-degree arc. And also you can get a lot of power this way. I mean, it's a pretty effective stroke for getting volume without even really putting that much energy into it, just because the gravity, the weight of the mallet coming down from 90 degrees is enough to create a lot of sound. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Can I watch the movement of your wrist when you do a double stroke? When I was playing Steven's grip, I always had a ton of trouble with this. I gave myself tendonitis for 3 months and eventually quit this grip because I thought that I just didn't have enough flexibility in the wrist flexing this way.
Right.
Is it not really about that?
No, the wrist shouldn't be moving this way at all.
Oh,
Because
great.
if the wrist moves this way, then you'll find that the mallet is moving in the direction toward your body and away from your body.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, to do double strokes. I mean, like when you have both of them and you're facing your marimba and you're like trying to play a C chord, is that more of an elbow whip move to get that to happen?
So you're talking about for like if you're playing all four mallets at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is more of this kind of a motion. But I think that the thing is, to avoid that kind of potential tendonitis, you really need to work on being as relaxed as possible. You know, because I mean we are talking about a repetitive motion type of injury, and there certainly is a lot of repetitive motion if you're a musician, especially in one specific part of the body. So it's really about finding a relaxation in the stroke. Like my mallets right now, they're sort of jiggling around in my hand. Like I can move my hand. Let's see how I can move my hand and the mallets barely move. That's because there's play there. And there's play in the outside.
Also see you're generating a little bit of power at the elbow too.
Yeah, there's elbow, and then there's also.
I couldn't see that when I was younger. I was told to like keep my elbows really stiff and like make it all come from the wrist. And now I think that's not really true.
Yeah, I think any teacher that tells you that there's one way to do something is not taking into consideration that everybody is a little bit different in terms of their physiology, and you need to find an ergonomic thing that works for you. You know, just think of all the different kinds of computer mouse designs there are. Not everybody uses one. Everybody uses a different one based on how their arm is comfortable and this and that, you know. So you've got to find your own level of comfort, and then just try to find some relaxation in that. But you know, I mean, I think that regardless of scissor or Stevens, when you're playing all four mallets at once, it's still going to be this kind of a wrist motion. So what are you using now? What grip are you using?
Burton. Yeah, I switched in grad school because I found that, at least from what I was observing people do, they were getting a lot of more power from the arm, and it could feel a lot more like how you play congas. And I just feel a much better integration with the rest of my physical strength, I guess. Like now I'm at the point where when I really play a power chord, it comes all the way down from my feet.
Yeah, good. You found a stroke that works for you.
It took a while. It took a really long time to get there, but I do kind of envy the control that Stevens players have in certain situations. And yeah, sometimes I'll like take my I'll hold the mouse like that to play like a suspended cymbal roll or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hey, so
I just get tired of the repetitive injury and I switch.
I don't blame you.
Becky, that was a great question. I wanted to use that to segue to Jen's question, just talking about physiology and stuff. Nick, what's been your experience teaching this grip to different students? And do you think it works for people who have like smaller hands, or do you think that's like a factor that comes into it, or is it really just more about making it work for, you know, an individual?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I teach this stroke because it's the one that I've actually spent the most amount of time trying to get a personal relationship with, and I've learned a way to make it work for my own musical applications. So I feel good about speaking about it intelligently. What I can tell you about Burton grip, you could maybe fill a thimble, possibly. I never was actually taught Burton grip. And so I don't know much about it. I do see that, I mean, the people that I know that use Burton grip seem to be really facile with it and they look relaxed and they get a nice sound from the instrument. Of course, Gary Burton is, no laughing matter. But I've taught it to, the youngest person that I taught it to, who undoubtedly had the smallest hands, was 8 when I put the mallets in his hand, and he got it pretty quickly. I've taken time to show it to some students who already had been playing Burton grip for 10 years, and they, just so that they could like get an idea of what else might possibly be out there, and to varying degrees of success, they adapted it or not adopted it. So I don't know. I think it's just technique on an instrument is generic up to a certain point, and then after that, if the musician really wants to grow into their own as an artist, then they need to take a look at what they've been doing and really take stock of whether or not it's working. Are they able to say what they want to say musically? And if not, what needs to change in order to do so? And then, that's how people come up with their own grip. I would imagine, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. I'll let you know if
Thanks, Kurt.
But Carolyn was asking about your, and I remember I think she asked something similar during the video of like your technique and your journey to that, of like how long were you playing before you figured out that grip? Like you mentioned you were in the 3rd year of your undergrad and stuff, so like, but you were already, I'm assuming, playing vibes before then. Like how long were you doing the other grip, and then you kind of got into Stevens? And
Right. So I had a very hardcore, very old school teacher, by the way, whose name was Tom Brown. Isn't that funny? Tom Brown, and he was a noted educator in upstate New York. He wrote a lot of material that was NISMA grade material. So NISMA is New York State Scholastic Music Association, and they have competitions every year. And so he wrote a lot of material for that. He was a pit player. He was old school, hardcore guy. He taught me the scissor grip. He was, I quote him as him saying all the time, if it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. He actually said that to me. And so that was for the first 3 years of my undergrad. And then when I transferred to SUNY Potsdam and I started to learn under the tutelage of James Peterzak, he was the guy who said, man, you gotta learn the Stevens grip, because nobody's playing that scissor grip and you're not going to be able to play the material that I want to give you and this and that. So I started to learn Stevens grip, and there was a guy there, a student there, who was really good at Stevens grip and who played marimba really, really well. And so I actually studied with him. I studied technique with him for about a semester, and he got me working with the Stevens grip in terms of marimba. But I had already been playing jazz since pretty much since I started college. I had a friend who was a bass player who's a total jazz nut, and any free minute he had, he's like, let's go play a tune. So I was playing jazz all along. I was kind of learning what to do. And then when I transferred and was playing more jazz, I was also learning Stevens grip, and I didn't want to have one grip for one instrument and a different grip for a different instrument. So I just appropriated the Stevens grip over to the vibes. And that's when I really started gigging a lot and playing with a lot of drummers, and realized that I had to do something with this grip to be able to compete sonically. I didn't ever want to. I knew that I would want to be able to incorporate 4 mallets and 2 mallets in just being able to flow through that. And so I never felt good about putting the 2 outside mallets down, taking my solo with the 2 inside mallets, and then picking up the 2 outside mallets. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to hold 4 mallets the whole time, be loose and limber, still get the volume that I wanted. So that's when I started appropriating the Stevens grip. That was in my 3rd year of my undergrad. Like I said, I had transferred. And so then from then on, I just have been trying to make that grip work for me.
That was great. That was a great answer. Does anyone else have any questions for Nick just as we're moving on here, because I was thinking that, Nick, since you're here and everybody else, we usually occasionally do some playing with students, or people who
Yeah,
and have them do a little performance. It'd be great if you could chime in on that stuff.
for
So,
sure.
uh, if no one has any more questions for Nick, then I'm actually gonna move the floor over to Miss Nora, and she had reached out to me about doing a short performance, and I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm very excited though.
So I've been like trying. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have been like working a lot on like independence with Mr. Sandin, and it's just been like really hard to like perform. I just have a hard time doing that. So I figured if I like do it more often, I'd become less nervous. So I'm gonna be playing Blue Bossa, and the biggest thing I'm working on here is like having the chords while I'm playing the melody and soloing. So hopefully I'll do like a little check so you guys can like hear me. But see how this goes. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, sounds like it's coming through. Very good.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, Nora. Woo! Hey, that was awesome, and serious props to you for getting up and performing in front of 25 of your peers.
Yes.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments for Nora?
Yes, please critique me.
I have one thing to say. First, great performance, and you are doing a really good job of making the right hand louder than the left hand because it's the melody, and that's coming out really well. And your timekeeping is great too. So one thing I did notice, and I'm bringing this up especially because it took me way too long to notice this in my own playing, and no one told me. But make sure you pedal the melody and not the chords, because I'm watching your pedal just go on the chords. So the quicker you can start doing that, like I felt like when someone finally told me that, I was like, okay, that's something to do, but I'll do it later. But like, because I did it, it's like so hard to get into that. So start thinking about that now. Yeah, but sounded great.
Nora, I have a question for you. So that you're trying to work on independence between your left hand and your right hand. So in other words, independence between the melody and and the accompaniment, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. So have you created any exercises for yourself beyond just playing blue bossa?
Yeah, what I was actually working on in my lesson is just playing like going through the form of the song, but playing like intervals and then finding the intervals in the next chord, if that makes sense. Like playing
Mm-hmm.
the same thing in each chord. But that's like strictly for that song, so I don't know if that's what you mean.
Okay, so I like to whenever I stumble upon a technical thing that seems to be biting me in the butt and I can't get past it, I will try to figure out what is at what is the most essential aspect of the technique, and then I'll create an exercise for myself that maybe moves through the uh, through the chromatic scale, or maybe through certain major scales or something like that. So I'm just curious, what is it about the independence that you're finding you're having difficulty with? Is it rhythmic independence between the right hand and the left hand, or as Becky said, Becky or Carolyn, I can't remember. Is it pedaling or volume? What is it?
I think it's more of like the rhythmic between them because I find myself like playing at the same time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and pedaling is also a thing that Carolyn said.
Right. Pedaling is always going to be the issue on the vibraphone. So I would say maybe you can create an exercise for yourself where you play, you can even do this on a tabletop. It doesn't even need to be on the instrument. In fact, I almost recommend getting away from the instrument so that you're not tempted to try and make music, and you just will focus on the exercise alone. And, play like quarter notes here, play dotted quarter notes in your right hand, play eighth notes in your right hand, play eighth notes in your left hand, quarter notes in your right hand. Just and then make a specific number of repetitions for each one. Sometimes when I'm starting out with a new exercise, I'll even like write out like 10 times this, 10 times that, 10 times that, and I'll go down the list so that I make sure that I hit on all the permutations and don't skip any of the permutations or double up on any of the permutations. And also, the nice thing about doing it like on a tabletop or something uninspiring sounding is you're really going to pay attention to how it feels rather than how it sounds. And you'll be able to hear, especially if you're talking about rhythmic independence, you'll really be able to hear the because it's only going to be attack. There's not going to be any ring, right? It's just going to be whack, 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 whack. And if you can get to the point where an exercise like that, like a rhythmic independence exercise on a tabletop, can actually start to sound pretty groovy, then you know that as soon as you go back to the instrument and apply it to some notes, it's going to sound gorgeous, right? So it's about like breaking it down to the essential and just finding a couple of different permutations that you can practice. And that might help. You can even and then start to like mess around with like doing alternating 3 and 4 like this. There's this 1 and 2. I can't remember. Left hand is 1 and 2. I don't remember. But anyway, alternate the 2 mallets in the left hand, alternate the 2 mallets in the right hand, and just get as much independence going on between those 4 mallets as possible. But do it away from the instrument first, okay, yeah. I think. Yeah.
And I'll piggyback on that and say that's I love to practice that way. So good point, Nick. But then when you bring it to the instrument, start with just like the same kind of thing, but just do it on like 2 notes so that it's still a percussive thing before you bring it into being melodic. Right, just get that muscle memory of the notes.
Right. Yeah. I think if you get the technique down, then you won't, when you go to apply it to a song, you won't be thinking about the technique anymore because your hands will be used to doing what they're doing, and you can just focus on what you want to say harmonically and melodically.
Awesome. That was some great feedback there. That was really.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Nick, a bunch of people were commenting there, like, man, I think you're the teacher we all wish we had when we were first getting started, and just telling us, no, it's okay, we can just figure it out, and it's gonna be all right. Like, you have to do this way now.
Yeah, well, I came from that school of thought, and so I'm always trying to be the teacher that I wish I'd had.
Well, that's.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please.
Hey, hey, Nick. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I used to know Tom Brown very well, so we could do a lot of stories about Tom Brown.
We should have a phone call for that.
Anyway, so but I had a quick question about when I first started the Stevens script. You know, it was actually when Lee Stevens was creating it. You know, but
Wow.
there was sort of this transition from the Musser grip to the Stevens grip. Now, to make this a very short story, I sort of gave up both of them and just went to Burton grip, you know. But do you know the difference between the Musser and Stevens? That was always something that was a little I never really understood. Do you know what that is about?
I wish I did. I don't even think I really know what the Musser grip is, because I was taught this terrible, like, crab claw scissor grip.
Right.
And then the next stage was learning Stevens grip, and there was nothing else in between there.
Right.
But it looks like I just don't know. I wish I could answer that question.
I think they're very similar, but you know, obviously when Lee came you know, into what he was doing, he changed a little bit, but
yeah.
I never
It looks like Tim Collins has an answer for us, actually.
Oh, okay.
Tim?
Yeah, sorry. I think I know this because this is popular over here in Europe. There's a mallet book written by a guy named Peter Sadlow. Have you guys heard of him?
No. Peter Sadlow?
So Peter Sadlow was actually the percussion teacher at the university here in Munich, and this guy was amazing. He died about 4 years ago, like of a kind of a freak heart attack. But he's an incredible percussionist, but like he's not known in the US. And he wrote a book. It's very similar to like the Method of Movement from Lee Stevens, but it's like a technique book for mallets. And in the beginning of the book, because I have a student who's like a student from the high school that I teach, and you know, for some reason, completely independent of the fact that I was his music teacher in high school, he plays marimba and he has a marimba at his house. So like I was giving him classical marimba lessons, even though I haven't played classical marimba in like 25 years. And so you know, and he's pretty good, like he can, you know, but he really needs to work on technique. So I told him that he has to get this book, and in the front of the book there's like very detailed description of the Musser grip, the traditional grip, the Stevens grip, and the Burton grip, and with like pictures and everything. The thing is, it's all in German, so it's hard to translate, but basically from what I remember reading is that like, so Stevens grip is like what you were describing before. It's like this, and the Musser grip is, I think, more like how Mike Manieri plays. It's like you still hold it that way, but your palm is down from, and I mean, so you still kind of have the mallets independent like this, but it's more like the hand is more flat. And yeah, I mean, that's basically, from what I understand from reading this book in German. My German is not 100% perfect, so I'm not going to say that I got everything right, but I'm pretty sure that that's the main difference between Stevens and Musser. It's just like the direction that the hand is like the palm is facing down. Hauke, does that sound correct to you? Do you know that book?
I don't know that book. No, I have never read it.
Really? But you've heard of Peter Sadlow, I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my friend studied with him. But isn't with the Musser grip? Isn't it like that? You don't put it this way in like in Stevens, but you hold it more like this.
Yeah, it's something like
so
that.
that's what turns your hand a little bit more like this.
They're still independent here, like, and they don't cross, but like I don't know, but it's not,
I don't think like in Stevens it's stuck in like this, and then you roll it over everything, right? This is what makes Stevens. I think the Musser grip makes it more like this. Doesn't Joe Locke play Musser?
Joe Locke plays, yeah, it's something similar. It's close to Stevens or Musser, and I asked him about it. I mean, when I was studying with him, he didn't. I was like, "What kind of grip do you use?" And he's like, "I don't know. I
have no idea."
And that was the extent of our conversation about grip. So,
yeah, Tim, while you kind of have the floor right now, you had mentioned a video that you were interested in sharing, and I'm thinking about trying to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes or so. So do you want to show that video?
Sure, it's not a video. It's just an audio recording. I got an email like, I don't know, 6 months ago from somebody who said, "Hey, I found your YouTube channel. You must be an expert about vibraphone," which is not true, but like they sent me this recording of, and they were like, "I don't know who this vibraphonist is." And they tried Shazam. Shazam didn't work. Nothing worked. And I've been listening to it. It's a great recording, but I cannot for the life of me figure out who the vibraphonist is. So I don't know if would you guys be interested to like listen, and maybe we can crowdsource, maybe somebody knows who this is.
This is great. This is vibraphone
Totally.
detective work.
And it's the whole track is 4 minutes long, but we don't need to necessarily listen to all of it. And
Burning track. Let's listen to it.
I don't know exactly. I guess if I just share my screen, does that also share my sound?
Yeah, as long as you enable the sound sharing with your screen sharing, that's a little setting.
Okay, so share screen.
And you
wait
should
a
have an
minute.
option to share like the program,
That's,
like,
oh yeah, share sound. Okay.
and then just share like iTunes or QuickTime or whatever you're using to actually.
Yeah, it's just gonna be QuickTime.
Great. Yeah, sure.
And it's just called
Just
so.
a continuation of our What's That Vibe player game that we played a couple weeks ago here.
Okay, very
This
cool.
can.
Sorry, Tim, didn't interrupt.
Oh no, that's okay. It's perfectly fine. And I guess maybe the best thing is if you have ideas who this might be, just type it in the chat rather than speaking, because then people won't be able to necessarily hear it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
The
ideas come to you. Just type them in.
I think I have a guess as to who it might be, but I'm gonna save it because I'm kind of curious what you guys will say. But I'm really very not sure of who it would be. So let me know that you can hear this. Thumbs up? Okay.
Wow, very.
So, first of all, it's a killing track, I think, right? Like, I mean, I saw some of the chat, like Victor Feldman, maybe. Like, there's to me, like, I don't know, like, what did you guys hear? Like, I hear a vibraphonist who has strong blues. First of all, that piece is in A minor, so it's somebody that knows the A blues scale really well. And then there's like a couple of like bebop
Some lines, like
lines.
looking at some lines, but not really.
There's a couple lines, but as soon as the chords change, like it becomes very rudimentary. So like my other guess was Johnny Lytle, but I think even the bebop lines in here, I don't know. I don't think it's Lytle. And I also basically have gone through Johnny Lytle's entire catalog in the last month or so, and I have not found this tune. Although he did a record, like he's on a Bobby Timmons record. Like the piano player sounds like somebody we know, right? Like I don't know. It's a great track. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Anybody heard it before?
Do you know the time period?
I mean, it sounds like it would have. My guess is it's recorded in the 60s, just based on how it sounds. That's my guess. I think Joe Chambers is actually, that's somebody I didn't think of, but a friend of mine here in Munich recorded with Joe Chambers like 5-6 years ago. I got to go back and listen to the record because he gave me a copy of it and compare. But I kind of thought this was like an interesting thing. Like, can you do like musical sleuthing based on like, like, can you identify who it is based on like the vocabulary they're playing? Like, I don't know.
Well,
Nick, what do you think?
I have a question, and I have a question for everybody. Does everybody on here follow the Instagram profile Zeit Vibes?
Zeit Vibes, yeah.
Zeit Vibes?
Yeah.
Okay, so Stefan, I think Stefan would be the guy to go to. I think if you can send him that track.
Yeah, I can do that. I know that. I mean, I don't know him, but I've shared that. I saw somebody thought they heard Bill Evans chords. Eddie Costa did a record with Bill Evans, but Eddie Costa died really, really young and only recorded like 2 or 3 records. And I listened to all of them. And also it doesn't, I mean, I don't know, maybe
that's not Bill. That's not Bill Evans.
You don't think it's Bill Evans? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not Bill Evans
either.
Well, Tim, if you're available to it, maybe we can send that, if you're willing to send that track around. Like, I'd love to show it to Charlie. I'm sure he might have an interesting
yeah,
because he's familiar.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, last on the coffee house a couple of weeks ago with Roy Ayers and all that, I was hoping to get to share it then, because I was like, man, if like all those guys have never heard this, don't know who this, then we're never going to find out.
But
could it be Lars Erstrand?
I don't know who that is. Who is that? Lars Erstrand.
Does anybody on here know Lars Erstrand?
Yeah, I guessed that in the chat. That's
yeah, I saw that in the chat. You wrote that? Okay.
Yeah, he's Swedish. Is he? I think he's Swedish.
Yeah. So there's 2 Erstrands. There's Lars, who's the elder. I don't know if they're related. And then there's Anders Erstrand, who is currently like, he's an innovative percussion artist. Right. But Lars Erstrand, I don't even know if he's still alive, because when I saw him, it was like 1998, and I saw him in Scandinavia, obviously at the I can't remember the name of the festival. Anyway, and he's kind of like out of like the almost like the pre-bebop school.
Really?
But he knows some bop as well. He's an interesting player, but I wonder if that might be Lars.
I've never heard of Lars.
That was what I was thinking, because I feel like it's not Lars's typical style, but like sometimes he does play that way.
Sure.
Okay. That is cool. I'm gonna now I know what the rest of my plan during lockdown is, because like I spent like all the last week or so just watching like Johnny Lytle and Lem Winchester and listening to listening to all these vibraphonists that we sort of gloss over because everybody's all about Milt Jackson and Bobby Hutcherson and Gary Burton. but I took some deep dives the past week, and one of the things that I was trying to do while also taking this deep dive was like just figure out who the hell is playing on this one tune. Somebody emailed me like 6 months ago and was like, do you know who this is? And I was like, I'm gonna find out for you. And like, here we are 7 months later, and I have not done anything. I've not figured it out at all.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this because you've now invoked the collective power of the Vibes Hang.
But it's also it's cool too, though, because like, you have to like really listen to how the person plays and make judgments like, wow, is this I've never heard Milt Jackson play a melody in octaves like that, so it's definitely not Milt Jackson, and
not the right speed either.
Yeah, the motor sounds different, the mallet's so different, but then after listening to all the Johnny Lytle that I listened to, I'm like, nah, that's not Johnny Lytle either. Like, I don't think it's him, even though like it could be him, but like there's like one measure where whoever it is plays like a pretty smoking bebop line, like one measure. And that's more than I ever heard Johnny Lytle ever play. Johnny Lytle like could own the blues, but I never heard that phrase from him in any other song. So I don't think it's him.
Well, we wanted to.
I'm gonna check out Lars Erstrand. Gonna definitely. Yeah,
you.
Johnny Lytle is awesome, by the way. I saw Jen, you wrote that in the thing.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with him.
He's one of the guys that like I checked it out like years ago, and like when you're in New York and you're surrounded by all these like people that are like super obsessed with playing in odd time signatures with moving chords at every possible angle, and then you put on a record and it's like just the blues scale for an hour, you kind of miss the point. Like, now that I'm separated from all that, I'm like I listened to Johnny Lytle's version of Summertime, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It's so great. So I recommend that you all listen to Johnny Lytle play Summertime.
All right.
And also Leela, which is a minor blues that he did. But yeah, anyway.
Well,
it wasn't Cal either. It's pretty obvious right away because Cal actually sounds so much like Milt with the lines that he plays. Like he's
also got a softer touch.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to.
I'm sorry.
Oh no,
So, go ahead.
Do you have that link to share? Just
of the song?
Yeah, so we can all.
Oh, it's an
sleuth it
MP3
more.
that somebody emailed me.
You'd have to like email it out. But Tim, can we
gotcha.
you like through your website or something if we wanted to get a hold of you and get the track?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just timarimba@gmail. That's my email address.
Okay. and also for Nick, if people want to reach out to you, and because thank you for coming and kind of hanging with us today. If people want to reach out to you, like what's the best way? Just through your website or by email, or how should people get?
Email's great. Yeah, they can. So NM as in Nick Mancini Collective @yahoo.com.
Okay, cool. I'll type that in the chat for you.
Or info@nickmancini.net. They both go to the same place.
Apparently, I can upload this song to the chat. By the way, so.
Yeah, you can maybe as a file, but I think it's just straightforward because if people want, they can reach out and we can do a direct transmission. But if it works out, oh hey, there it is.
I think I just did it.
Wow, technology is amazing.
Unbelievable.
Somebody emailed it to me. Like I don't know where it came from.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully downloading it. But thanks everybody for coming today. This was a really fun hang. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Tim. Thanks everybody else. Lolly Allen was hanging out. I see.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Rosie.
Yeah, Nick.
Awesome. Wow, look at that. That's
Nick, Tom, Tim, Nora.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if you guys know. Like Nick and I met Nick because I went to Manhattan School of Music right after Nick left, and I met you. You were playing on Will Vincent's recital. That's when I.
That's right.
You played on Will Vincent's recital.
Yeah, it was me and Will Vincent and this great Australian piano player, Steve Newcomb.
Yeah.
Wait, where was this?
At Manhattan School of Music.
Sorry, you said Manhattan School of Music?
Yeah.
Groovy. And I didn't know you went to Potsdam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's where I did the second half of my undergrad.
Sorry, where were you before that? Before Potsdam?
I went to Schenectady County Community College.
Dang, I keep forgetting. You're my people.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sorry. You're an upstater like me.
I'm an upstate New Yorker. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. Potsdam, the land of my people, practically.
Is that right?
Way
I
up
didn't know
there.
that.
Way up there. Well, Adirondacks is where I'm from,
Uh-huh.
but
Who's
Potsdam's
talking?
way up there.
It's
This
Lolly.
is Lolly. Sorry, I just butted in.
Oh yeah,
Who,
no,
who said
I'm
they used
from,
to live in
I am
Schenectady?
from Plattsburgh.
Lolly Allen, Nick.
What?
Yeah.
I was born in Plattsburgh.
Are you serious? Yeah. So
I'm
we're just taking
serious.
over the whole vibraphone world here. That's how this works.
Yeah.
So you guys have to learn where upstate actually is. The rest of you, because it's not Poughkeepsie.
Isn't it
Yeah,
just
right.
all of the state that isn't New York City?
No,
Kind of.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean,
north
that's
north of Albany.
Oh wow.
yeah. Upstate New
No.
Yorkers know where upstate is.
I went to
right.
college in
everybody-
Albany. That was upstate New York. That
Yeah, Albany. I'll give you Albany.
Yeah, Albany's actually, they when you get to Albany, it's actually considered the capital district.
Right. Yeah.
And from what I understand, upstate New York is below the capital district. Upstate New York is like, it's the Hudson River Valley is like kind of upstate New York.
Yeah. I guess where I'm from is the North Country. That's what I'm from.
Yeah.
North Country. That's right.
Even farther, it's like the part of the country, the part of the state that nobody goes to, which, by the way,
Right.
is why it's so nice.
If you're from where we're from, that is upstate New York. If you're from
Right.
New York City, it's everything that isn't
Yeah.
New York City.
225th Street is upstate New York if you're from New York
Exactly.
City.
Short story, Potsdam is definitely upstate. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Potsdam is up and over the Adirondacks, and then another hour.
Dang, it's cold there.
It is cold there.
Suddenly becomes the new thing. When it started off, it was me and Mary, and it was like a California thing, and we were all talking about, how beautiful. And now you guys are all
It's
talking.
like too sunny today. Oh, what am I gonna do? Oh, the sun's out again. Oh, that's too bad.
Go lay next to the ocean and lounge. That's terrible.
Oh, geez. I feel bad for you.
Hey, everyone, this has been really fun. Thanks for letting me host. Not that any of you asked, but it's been fun.
Great job, Tony.
Yeah, great job, Tom. It was fun.
Yeah, I think you're a good host. Great host, Steven.
Thank you guys. Well, hopefully either Tony or Carolyn or Mike or somebody next week can take the reins. And if there's anybody else who has any cool ideas, if you're like Barry and you've secretly just been working on some evil scientific vibraphone equipment in your basement and you want to show us, we can do that. I'd love to have, maybe get Becky back on here to do some of her vibraphone Tai Chi, which was
sorry, it's gonna be a while before I have my other arm back.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's okay. But just keep the floors open. So if anyone has cool ideas, reach out to me or Mike or Carolyn or Tony, or just let's just keep it going because this was really fun today. We just want to keep it happening. All right. Bye.
Bye.